Today I realized I'm reading 2 historical fiction books at the same time. I should do a video about that. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing very, very well. As always, I hope your reading is going fantastic. First, let's take a moment. My husband got me this tank top. I don't know if you guys can see it all in the video, but it says, if I can't take my book, I'm not going. That's what it says. I absolutely love it, and I absolutely agree with this message. Today's video is actually inspired by a conversation I had with my husband in the car. I was telling him about the books that I was reading, and I realized probably for the first time in my life, I am reading 2 books about World War II, 2 historical fictions set in World War II. So weird for me. One, I don't read a ton of books set around World War II. You better have something special to say to keep me interested. And both of these books are doing that 100%. And I thought, you know what? I should do a video about historical fiction because I don't necessarily read a ton of historical fiction, but I do have a lot of books that really sit with me from that genre that I thought I would talk about. Some of them you probably heard of before, some of them maybe you haven't. One of them comes out very, very soon. So let's go ahead and talk about them. The first one and the oldest on this list is a book that maybe a lot of you guys have read, and I just think more people should read, and that is the brilliant The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet by David Mitchell, who wrote Cloud Atlas, who is one of my favorite authors, who, when I met him, see, it's even still got the tag in it, he signed in 2014 my copy of A Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet. Okay, so this is set at the end of the 1800s. I want to say even maybe 1799 or not. And it is the story about the Danish trade empire and its interactions with Japan. Some interesting things that occur in it. We have the traders from that are sort of on this, I want to say it's like this man-made island. They are not actually allowed on to Japanese soil, sorry, that's real bad. And it is about sort of the situation regarding all of that and the interactions that these people, and especially one of the traders, has with the Japanese community. And this book is so brilliant and so vivid and beautifully written, and everything that you could possibly want in an amazing historical fiction novel. And let's not even talk about how beautiful this cover is for a moment. It's hard for me to explain this book. One, it's been a while since I've read it. 2, I just have vivid memories of very specific scenes when I think about this book. All of them would be utter spoilers if I told you about them. What I will absolutely say is, to me, this is my second favorite David Mitchell novel. Cloud Atlas will always be my favorite. I think, though, this one stands in and of itself. He clearly has a love of Japanese culture, has a love for history, and he is one of the most brilliant lyrical writers going today. So that's The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet by David Mitchell. It is freaking amazing. I should say that I put these in order of publication, I believe. That is the only reason. All of them are out except for the last one, which we will talk about when we get there. One book that I have talked about on my channel, and this is the one that I am currently listening to on audiobook, and it is brilliant, and I'm actually going to bring up my computer, so hold on a second. And that's At the Wolf's Table by Rosella Postorino. And lovely, lovely. What happened was I had talked about this book in a video, and so nicely the translator of the book, Leah, emailed me saying thank you for talking about this book. I should hold it up while I talk about it. So this was translated by Leah, and she helps me sort of pronounce her last name. I'm going to do my best. I'm not good. Yanechko. I hope that's better, Leah. I really do. And she thanked me for talking about this book. And she also told me that in Junesco in English speakers, and Janechko to people of Italy. So she's trying to help me. I already messed it up, Leah. I'm really sorry. But she did tell me that in the UK, this book is being released there under a different title, The Women at Hitler's Table, and it's coming out from HarperCollins, and it will have a different audiobook narrator than the one that I have. But the one I have in the US is phenomenal. And this is the story of, I want to say it's 10 women whose job it is basically to eat the food that Hitler is going to eat for a day before him, and sit there basically for an hour after they eat it, and they eat a lot of it, to make sure that it wasn't poisoned before he ate the food. Told from the perspective of one woman, she actually interacts with all of the other women and sort of starts to create, and I'm only about probably halfway through the book, but she creates who these other women that she does this certain specific job with, day in and day out. She creates their backstory and sort of gives you who they are. So as you sort of watch what they're doing, I have a feeling something tragic is going to come, and I'm not ready for it. But it's okay. The main character's husband is away in war. He is being sort of a good German citizen and fighting in the war. She has moved in with his parents, and then one day sort of the SS shows up to take her away, to force her into this job. And the thing is, this job pays very, very well, so it does well for these women, but you never know after each meal if you're going to survive. So that's all I know. I'm halfway through it. It is so good. So this is At the Wolf's Table by Rosella Postorino, translated from the Italian by Leah Junesco. Hopefully that one was better. And yeah, so thank you very much, Leah, for emailing me and helping me with this. And I'm really loving this one, guys. The audiobook is fantastic. The next book I'm going to tell you about is one that came out in August, so it's out a couple of weeks now, and it came out on August 6th, and I've just finished it, so it will be in a read and review probably in the next week or so, and that's The Women of the Copper Country by Mary Doria Russell, and this is out from Atria Books. This is a fantastic historical fiction. I'll tell you about what the story is about, and you guys should get your hands on it, because I will say this, and I've said this 100 times before, Mary Doria Russell does an amazing amount of research, so you will learn so much about this world. So this is the story of Calumet, Michigan, and the company that owned Calumet, Michigan, Calumet and Tekla, and their sole purpose is to mine copper ore. And this is at the start of the 1900s, and really at the start of the labor movement and the union movement here in the United States. One day, a man is killed in the copper mine while using a single-person drill, which is extremely dangerous. And when he dies, our heroine, who is Annie Clements with an S, I couldn't remember if there was an S in at the end, she decides to lead a strike in Calumet, Michigan, against the owners of the business in order to get better working conditions and all sorts of different things for the miners and their families. And what Mary Doria Russell does amazing in this book is she sets this tone of sort of the fact that the danger and the fact that at any time your loved one, usually the man of the house or a brother, could die at any minute due to the job that he has. And that it was so commonplace that people sort of just expected that to occur. And what Annie does is she sort of becomes and is turned into the heroine of this movement, of this union. And the book leads you through sort of the strike in Calumet, Michigan, which is a real event that occurred. Annie Clements is a real person. And at the end of this book, you get a very good idea of how Mary Doria Russell put all of these pieces together. But, and she creates some characters to sort of add complexity to the narrative of this tiny town. Calumet and Tekla owned Calumet, Michigan, and it didn't seem like the kind of place that was just like a miner's town thrown together. But their owner, James McNaughton, I want to say is his name, is probably one of the most villainous men I have ever read about. And he's real. Like, he did some really awful things to these miners and their families. And most of these miners are immigrants to the United States. And James McNaughton has a very, very strict perspective on how immigrants should be treated. which had sort of a timely, awful resonance with our current political system. But this book is so well researched that you really will learn so much about Calumet, the unions, how they worked, and then what Mary Doria Russell is, she just turns it and it becomes a story about people, and it is heart-wrenching. You will bawl your eyes out at the end of this book. I'm just telling you guys right now. So this is out now from Atria Books. That's The Women of Copper Country by Mary Doria Russell. Yeah, so very, very good. So the only book that I haven't read on this list, and the one that is probably next, I have started it, but I have not read it in its entirety because I put it down for just a minute, and that's Inland by Tea Obreht. This just came out a week ago. This is set in the late 1800s, 1893-ish. I just went and saw Tea Obreht speak about this book. Now, she wrote The Tiger's Wife, which was a phenomenal success. This book is very different. This is a Western in all aspects. It is set in Arizona. She told us when we spoke to her that this was inspired by a podcast where she learned about the Camel Corps. Now, the Camel Corps was part of the military here in the U.S. when at one time someone came up with this brilliant idea to bring camels over from sort of the Ottoman Empire to the Southwest, to Arizona, because they didn't think that mules could take care of sort of the terrain. They thought they needed a hardier, sturdier pack animal. And so this was inspired by that. And that is sort of an ongoing theme. We have two main characters. We have Lori, who is an immigrant here from the Balkans, I believe. And he has had a past where he came with his father. His father died and he went down sort of a path of, I'll call it mischief. And he is on the run. And he is finally coming to the terms where he's been running and running and running. And that's one part of the story. The other part of the story is the story of Nora. And Nora is a woman living in the frontier of Arizona. Her husband has been gone for many days, supposedly in search for water. He hasn't returned. Her two oldest sons are missing as well. She doesn't know where they are. And she is just dealing, and she is angry. She is angry with the life she leads. It's tough out there, and she is just tired, and she's tired of it. And yeah, so those two stories combined. What's really fascinating is Lori's story is really over in a long, expansive period of time, and one story is really over a day, a single day, but all inspired by the idea of the Camel Corps here in the United States. So much in there, so much to dive into. I cannot wait to read this. I've heard it is beautiful. The person who introduced Tea Obreht said if you're fans of sort of the Cormac McCarthy Border trilogy, that this book would really fit into your sweet spot, which I'm a huge fan of the Cormac McCarthy Border trilogy. So that made me even more excited. So that is Inland by Tea Obreht, and this is out now. And that cover is just gorgeous. Let's take a moment. Last but not least is the book that I am reading currently. And that's the one that is not quite out yet, and that's The Last Train to London by Meg Wyatt Clayton. This comes out on September 3rd, so it's really not that far away. And this is set right before World War II, and it is a fictionalized account of the life of a real woman. Her name is, Truus Wijmuller. She is from the Netherlands, so I apologize. I think, you know how I am with names, guys. But she is based on a true woman who, her sort of mission was to get as many Jewish children out of the Germany and the German-occupied countries right before World War II and get them to safety into homes outside of the Reich. And the Nazi movement. And what we have are really two stories. We have her story. She goes by Truus, and her sort of adventures in trying to get children out. We also have the story of Stephen. Stephen is from a very wealthy Austrian Jewish family. After Germany and Hitler come in and sort of take over and annex Austria, his life drastically changes. And he becomes a young man with a lot of potential who really needs to escape Austria, or he will wind up in a concentration camp. And that's the two stories that are going sort of timeline side by side. Let me see how far I am. I'm on page 200. I'm on page 200. It's like 450 pages. I am loving it. I am flying through it. I love the main character. She is spunky, and her dedication to these children is amazing. But at the same time, there's so much heartbreak in this book that Meg does such a great job of sort of balancing the reality of the situation with the heroism, because you can sort of get lost sometimes. The novel can get lost in the heroics and forget the tragedy, and she is not doing that. I'm loving it. I can't wait to see how this book ends. So that's The Last Train to London by Meg Wyatt Clayton. This is out from Harper on September 3rd, 2019. So you guys, that's me. I did a historical fiction book recommendation video. Here they are. There's 5 books for you. I hope that every single one of these winds up on your TBR. I hope that you read them and then you email me and we talk all about it. As always, if you are a return subscriber, I just couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. If you are new to my channel and this is your first video, I hope you stick around. As always, I encourage you to shop locally, read globally, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.